First Step.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the First Step podcast. My name is Kevin. Thank you so much for joining me. With me today, obviously, the two goons of college football. We've got Charlie Pigskin and Stupid Stu.
What an honor. What an honor.
Claps
Are
all around.
Are you not entertained after last week's picks?
Are we not entertained? Unbelievable. If you go back to our conversation, we nailed a few games and we totally missed on a bunch of others. I don't know about you guys. I was at 5-6. I won 5 and I lost 6. I'm not doing great, but I'm not doing bad either. I'm okay. How'd you guys do?
Stupid Stu killed it. I don't know.
I know. Stupid Stu killed it. Stupid still killed it. All his picks nailed it. I mean, I think you were what?
6-2.
6-2
on the ones we posted. Yeah.
Amazing. How'd you do, Charlie?
I was a little over 500, like record-wise, but unfortunately, my biggest unit play was that USC LSU over. So I ended up just basically even slightly down for the week money-wise, but still, what a week.
What a week. Listen, I'm not a bragger by any means. I don't like to make fun of people, but we have to talk about it only because you talked a lot of smack, and when you talk a lot of smack,
I wasn't talking smack.
You were talking smack. Don't make me go back on the recordings. You were talking smack. Tell me, buddy, how are we feeling? How are we feeling as Florida fans, as Gator fans? How are you guys doing? Where are we? Where are we today on week 2? How are we feeling?
It feels great. You know, we got 1 week into the season. We already got clarity. It's time to move on. Get a new coach. I've got right here. I got my coaching hot board right here.
Oh, okay.
Got about 30 names on it that I've been looking at. So
It looks like you're about to apply for the job. Is that the look we're going for today?
I'm currently overqualified for the job. So with how we're looking right now.
Talk to me about how Florida looked. As a fan base, how are you guys feeling? I mean, obviously there's some coaching issues there, but I think there's more than just coaching. How are you guys feeling in level of play?
It's more than coaching, but it is coaching. Like at the end of the day, the most important thing is Miami's turned around because Cristobal is a great talent acquirer, and like their team's a lot better because of that. And Billy isn't that, and he's an awful coach.
Yeah, I think
the coach turns around a lot. When you say it's like deeper than that, I mean, yeah, we need a new AD, but like that's
listen, that's how Miami did it, right? They got a new AD, they pick up a new coach, and
but you got Mario first, right? Did you guys get Mario?
I think we got Mario first. Yeah,
like in the next spring.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. That's exactly how it worked out. But yeah, I think Florida kind of just looked defeated, man. I was expecting a lot.
They looked horrible.
They looked really bad. I don't think the score showed that the game. It kind of, yes, Cam Ward looked really well. Like Miami looked pretty good. I did like Florida at the end there. The what was the name of the second quarterback that came in?
Nagley.
He looked good.
PJ Nagley. I mean, he's a true freshman, so he'll have ups and downs, but you can't be relying on true freshmen.
That's
early.
True. So looking out for
make a difference regardless.
Looking out for the rest of the season, how are we feeling about your win totals here? Not great.
I mean, I didn't touch the win total this year because I just
it's a
didn't
brutal record.
I thought we had a real shot against Miami. I did. I've never seen us play like that in the swamp. Cam Ward was incredible, but there's a reason I was saying it was a 1-game season, and that season is over.
And it's gone. It's over. The other Florida team, Stupid Stu, how do we feel about Florida State, man? Did you see that, man? They're down 0-2 to start the season. How are we feeling about it?
Man, I don't even want to talk about it because I might get a lawsuit headed my way or something if I just make any comments. I mean, Florida State's – I mean, in their defense, it's been tough. You get you lose a lot of players. You bring in a new quarterback. It's not like BC and Georgia Tech are pushovers, but I mean – they can't stop the run. They can't stop the run. They can't run the ball well. There's a lot of issues going on in Tallahassee. They're in big trouble.
Yeah, I think Florida State, I mean, It's not even, it's the games that they're losing, right? Yeah, sure, you could lose a Georgia Tech, you could lose a BC once a season to one of them, but to both and back to back, you expect on that week two, you expect them to come in hard. You expect them to come in, or I guess that's week one, to come in hard and take that W, and they just couldn't get it done. I was disappointed, especially with, I don't know if DJ had a lot of hype coming in, and I thought we were gonna hear big things from him, and it's kind of been underwhelming, that's for sure. So yeah, those were the big Florida games. What about the rest of the NCAA? What else did you guys? Any big games you guys liked? Carlos, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Yeah, I mean, to me the big stories in week one is what teams, because week one they always say like don't overreact, and I think you shouldn't move off your preseason priors too much. But I do think there were a couple teams that, like, my opinion of them changed a
Like
good
Miami.
amount. So I think you, yeah, Miami, absolutely. I think we talked about like the upside for Miami, and Cam Ward looked all that and more, which I think is huge. Also, I think Miami, what is their next tough game? I think is Louisville
Louisville. Yeah.
on paper in
Yeah.
October. So I mean, they got time to kind of really figure out what their identity is. I do think Miami, you know, defensively, I still think I
A lot
want to
of missed
see what they
tackles.
look like,
A
in
lot
the
of missed tackles.
I,
I
I
saw that.
I'm less worried about the missed tackle stuff, is more just on the back end if they're going to cover, Florida's strength is not throwing downfield.
Right.
And there was a couple times Mertz missed a couple one-on-one chances. Will a Jeff Brom offense be able to like unlock that a little bit better? But I mean, they look every bit the part of a big time player. The other teams that I think look big time is Oklahoma and Tennessee. I think there was a lot of, even though they didn't play good teams, there's a lot of teams I was looking at in that range that had high upside, especially because of new quarterback play. And Jackson Arnold and Nico Yamaleva both looked the part. They look real. And I think those are going to be two really good offenses. I don't know if they're like, national title contenders or anything like that, but they're a team that definitely has my eye to pose like a real problem against some top teams. And then Michigan, just their, teams that didn't look the part. Michigan's offense, their defense looks good, looks legit, but their offense just doesn't have an identity. I think they went into the season hoping, Alex Orji was going to turn out to be the guy and have like a running quarterback system. He can't even, he looked awful on the field. He got beat out by a preferred walk on. I don't love how that offense is looking. So
I mean,
that's a team I've downgraded big time.
Michigan is they only had like 5 returning players for their offense, and you could see it, right? Like that team looked
Yeah.
unfocused. They looked, like they were playing a scrimmage out there, and sure, are they gonna? Their defense is keeping them in the games, and I don't think they're gonna be, a bottom tier team by any means. I think they're still gonna be competitive. But you're right, they look like they've definitely taken a hit. That transfer portal and the draft really killed them. How
I'm
about
curious.
Go ahead.
No, I'm curious if Stu has any teams that he
Yeah.
has,
Yeah,
changed
I'll
his opinion
piggyback
on.
off of what you said. Tennessee and Oklahoma for sure. They're actually playing in Norman in a couple weeks, so that's going to
Yeah.
be, we're going to find out who's for real soon. And then going off of that, I mean, the two things I'll go into the one team I think really looks special, but I mean, I got to give a shout out to Torian McMillan, T-Mac, the Arizona receiver, 4 touchdowns. If you haven't watched this kid play, he's unbelievable. And then Ashton Gentry for Boise State. I know they're playing Oregon this week, but I mean, that guy had 20 rushes, 267 yards, averaging 13 yards a carry, 6 touchdowns. It's a highlight reel in one game. Boise's now the number 1 rushing team in the country, thanks to him.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, the whole story, I mean, Miami, but we've already talked about that. To me, it was really Penn State.
Yeah, Penn
Penn
State
State, the
versus
new
West
OC,
Virginia.
Andy Kotelnicki, unbelievable offensive plays they were drawing. Drew Aller looked like a player I haven't seen. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I short that guy every time I can. I will not bet against Penn State right now until they looked for real. He was 11th in air yards, 12.7 yards per pass, a top 10 total passing efficiency. Harrison Wallace emerged on the scene with 2 touchdowns and 120 yards. Omari Evans was all over the slot. They have the running backs with Singleton that everyone knows about. They had 7 plays over 15 yards. They had 4 plays over 40 yards. I think Penn State was really one of the biggest stories, and I'm curious to see how that offense develops along the season.
Absolutely agree with you. I thought Penn State outplayed West Virginia, a game that we talked about, even West Virginia covering the spread. I mean, they came in and they played hard. I also like Georgia a lot this week. I know, Georgia, they were expected to win, but man, did they win it in a beautiful fashion. You could tell when you watch that game that team was absolutely prepared when they came in, and they just rocked it. They looked like the best team in the country. Also, Notre Dame's offense looked really good too, man. They played really well. Played against a tough Texas A&M team, and they came out and did the work. I'm really excited for college football this season. I think there's a lot of good teams. I think week one, obviously, everything's a little too early to tell, but we did have some big games. We had some games that showed a little bit of these bigger teams on what we have to look forward to. We talked about the Miami FSU. We're not going to see them play a decent team until 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now. What's that going to turn into? Florida State still not out of it. They have 2 losses, but technically could make it to the playoffs if they kind of win out almost. And then what you guys were saying, Georgia. Oh, Virginia Tech lost to Vanderbilt. That was a big deal. That was kind of surprising. I thought I had Virginia Tech high on my list, and they kind of got rocked. And it was fun to see. But I'm super excited. Week 1 was a lot of fun. I'm excited football's back. You smell it in the air. I think we should just dive in week 2, talk about our favorite games, our favorite bets coming up. You guys are going to be listening to this on Friday. We're filming this on Thursday. So let's talk a little bit. Stu, you sent me over some picks. I really liked one of them. I have one here highlighted. I have BYU, SMU. Stu, you have the first half at +6.5.
I have BYU
Or minus,
+6.5 in the first half. Yes, that game is Friday night, so for all you degenerates, can get out there early and get a game in at 7 o'clock. Start off the weekend right. And yeah, I lean BYU here. The game is in University Park in Texas at Gerald Ford Stadium over in Dallas. SMU's offensive line struggled a little bit in the first few weeks. I haven't seen a whole lot out of there yet. And then I like BYU's defensive coordinator, Elase Tuiaki. He's a defensive line and linebacker coach. He's been around Utah State, Oregon State, but he's been at BYU for a few years. He's been doing really well there. And I think BYU's catching a little too many points, but I do worry just in the weather, the humidity, Texas, if they get worn down a little in the second half. That's why I'm taking them in the first half. I like those first half bets. I did with Notre Dame last week. Just get in, get out on the road, and just get the cover. Great teams cover.
See, I like BYU here at 12.5. I think the full game picture. I think they have it. I think SMU is good, but they're not that good. And I think BYU is playing a little bit better than they have been previously. I think they're coming in hot. They kind of struggled they played Nebraska, I believe, last weekend. Or no, I'm sorry, Nevada. But I do think that they cover. I think it's what you just said. Great teams cover, and I like them to cover this game here a lot. Next big game I have here, I have Pitt versus Cincinnati. I have the under at 62.5 at -110. I don't think these guys could put up that big of numbers. I think these are 2 big defensive giants. I think that's a very high number for both of them. They have a freshman QB in Eli Holston with Pitt. And I think Cincy has a great defense. So I like the under here. And Hami, you have any takes on this one?
I'm not a huge fan of the under in that game. Just got a new OC.
No.
Yeah. Pitt got a new OC, Kate Bell, who's one of these. I don't know how to describe his offense. Not necessarily like air raid, but he comes from his dad, Kerwin Bell, has been like one of these FCS head coaches that always lights it up. Never has good defenses, but always has one of the best offenses in the country. He was at Jacksonville. He's been around the block. And Kate Bell, Pat Narduzzi famously likes to shackle his OCs, but the couple times he didn't, when he had Matt Canada during that COVID year with Pickett, they really let the world on fire, and then he just let him leave. I think he actually let Cade Bell in that offense, like let it air out. So I'm a little more bullish on the Pitt offense than I usually am. I'm not a big Narduzzi fan with how he runs his team, how he runs that offense, and how he shackles it. But they looked a lot different last week than they've looked in the past. So I'm not saying, I'm not betting the over, but I would like to see a little more of this Pitt offense. And I'm not sure that, Pitt and another team is Iowa that are 2 offenses, and I'm used to like those head coaches really just putting the brakes on anything creative. They both look a lot different this year. So
yeah, so if you guys want, we could talk about good transition. We have Iowa versus Iowa State. How do you feel about that game? I love that game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think that's one of I think that's one of the better smaller games in the sense of like these huge franchises. But Iowa State, I really like. You were big, Chucky. You were big, Charlie. You were big on Iowa State this year, weren't you?
Yeah, still am. I really am. But I think both Iowa and Iowa State are a bit underrated. I think like in the national consciousness,
Mhm.
like this year, especially how they looked week one. I would lean Iowa State, I think, like, but the games in Iowa, I
Dude, that's
believe.
a
Let me just
competitive, right?
confirm that.
I think the spreads at
It's
Yeah,
two and a
it's
3.
half for
Iowa.
Iowa.
It's I.
I,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would lean Iowa State, but I'm staying away from this game as a bet. Like I like Iowa State long term in the Big 12. They always struggle with Matt Campbell early in the year.
okay.
Uh, but I am betting the over, which I know is completely, they call it El Clasico. They call it, this is the game they bet the under and don't even watch because it's going to
Yeah.
be ugly. I actually think both offenses come in a little bit better.
So
Cade McNamara, I'm not a believer, but I think they're going to air it out and look a little bit more competent on offense.
so
And
you had the over on this
it's
one
at
too, right?
35 and a half.
I have the over two, and an Iowa State game. This is probably criminal, and this is stupid stew written all
No.
over it. But I really like it. Iowa State's rushing game was pretty bad. They let up 174 yards to North Dakota last week. They're depleted in their front seven. Their two leading tacklers just got hurt. One of the linebackers, I think, is done for the year. So, and then Iowa was able to score 40 points last week, like Charlie Pigskin was mentioning, and they rushed for 241 yards all over Illinois State. So I think they're going to be able to run the ball right down Iowa State's throat and hopefully get that translates into some points. Iowa State, though, I mean, I think they're going to be able to get some garbage time if they go down a little here. Rocco Beck, the sophomore QB, the ninth best completion percentage in the country, 77% is a nice number. He was 24th in the country with air yards at 10.3 per attempt. I mean, Iowa State was pushing the ball down the field a little bit. So, I mean, 35 points is really low. I know that's traditional because these teams normally play every year and it's
Right.
it's usually 17-10. But
It's usually
I
god
think
awful.
Iowa also had three different players score catching the football. I mean, I think there could be a little bit of I guess we'll call it fireworks in the Big Ten over here for maybe 20 maybe 20 points for one of these teams. But
It's
that's
kind of
really all we
wild.
need.
It's kind of
So,
wild. We're talking
21-20.
about Iowa State, right? Texas, Michigan. I think one of the better games we're having this weekend. I have that score being a lot closer than most people. I have it maybe 27-23 Texas. I do like Michigan here to cover though. I think the cover right now is at 7.5. I like Michigan to cover as a bet. I do like the under though. I do like the under. I mean, I know I said I just had 27-23, but I don't know why I'm thinking I might go for the under here on totals, which is right now I have it as 42.5.
yeah,
What
I
do you
mean,
guys think?
I'm looking at this game too. It's tough. This is the game of the
It's
week.
like a battle of defenses, right? Like what do we do here?
100%. It opened at three. It's
I
been at
know.
three all summer, and it's moved to 7.5 now. I
Yeah.
mean, Texas looked really good at receiver. Isaiah Bond looked good. The freshman Ryan Wingo looked good. They're going to have to beat Michigan on the boundary. You're not going to be able to move it on this front seven up the middle. Kelvin Banks, their first round tackle, is going to have to play well because their rushing game lacked big ability. They had 4.4 yards per carry. That's 67th in the country versus Colorado State, who didn't look very good at all. And then Michigan allowed 9 yards in the entire game on 22 attempts to Fresno
Yeah.
State. Surprisingly, that's second in the country. Kentucky only allowed 5 yards to their opponent. Derek Moore finished as the top rated exterior defensive player in the country for Michigan on Pro Football Focus. Josiah Stewart finished fourth in the country with 3 solo tackles. That's not even Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, the 2 first-round picks on the interior for Michigan. Rashawn Benny had 2 tackles for loss. Rod Moore's a top 50 pick safety for them. And Will Johnson is the number 1 corner in the country. He had a 90-yard pick 6 to take it to the house when Fresno State was knocking on the door in the fourth quarter. It's going to be hard for Texas to move the ball, but at the same time, Michigan is offensively inept. Their offense had 4.5 yards per pass attempt. That's 126 in the country. Davis Ward stinks. He stinks. 15 completions for 118 yards. Colston Loveland, their star tight end, is their leading receiver. That's never good to see. And their leading receiver had 15 yards, and it took them 3 completions to get those 15 yards. I don't know how you can feel good about anything in here. You have an elite defense at home catching 7.5. Home dog's probably the best bet here. But I mean, if you got Texas at an early number, I'd feel pretty good about that. Just because I don't know if Michigan can score enough points here.
Yeah.
I love Texas this week. I mean, I think I agree that Texas, I think, is going to struggle to move the ball and score, but at some point they're going to figure it out. Sarkisian is one of the best offensive coaches, I think, in the country. I think Dunn Martindale and the defense are going to be great, and that's going to be a great matchup, that DC versus OC matchup. But ultimately, when you're the talent, Texas is going to figure out how to score some points. I think Michigan's offense is just anemic. Like I just don't think they're going to be able to move the ball in Texas. I'm sure it's going to be close, and maybe take the under first half, take Michigan to cover first half. But I think eventually Texas will wear them down. I did get the number early, so I'm really happy I was able to lock it in at 6.5
There you
when it
go.
opened. At 7.5, I like it a lot less because you're on the other side of that football number. But man, I know it's chalk and everyone and their mother's on Texas. But ultimately, I think we're going to look back later in this year and see what type of team Texas is, what type of team Michigan is, and we're going to be shocked that we could get a touchdown in this game.
Yeah. Again, we talked about it. It's a defensive powerhouse versus another defensive powerhouse. Could be. I like the under here. I like the under at 42.5. I like the spread. I know it's on the other side of 7 there, but I think Texas is the better team, and it's what we're saying. Michigan just looks like they cannot move the ball forward, especially versus a strong Texas defense. Georgia Tech, Syracuse too. You have Georgia Tech coming at -2.5. Talk to me about that game.
Yeah, I mean, I lean this way. I haven't made this a pick yet, but I'm probably going to do it. Syracuse is 4.2 rush yards per carry. That's 79th in the country. Not very good. Georgia defense only allowing 124 yards per game. It's not terrible considering their opponents. That Georgia Southern, we were all over that over last week. They played two decent teams. Syracuse's offense looked really good last week. They had 354 pass yards. Cal McCord about 8.9 yards per attempt versus Ohio. Georgia Tech's offense only getting about 210 pass yards per game, about 9.1 yards per attempt. Pretty close there, all in all. I just think Georgia Tech through 2 games, they've been able to rush the ball really well with Jamal Haynes. You're getting 6 yards per carry. That's 33rd in the country. Syracuse's defense allowed 255 yards in week 1. I just think that's going to be the difference. I think Brent Key is kind of the Dan Campbell of the NFL, man. He's not going to put the ball in risk. Haynes King, this team is different. Haynes King's not turning the ball over. They're just going to run it down your throat till you can stop it. And I think I still believe if you put Kyle McCord up against the ropes, I think he's going to turn that ball over. So I like the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah,
I like the Yellow Jackets.
Listen, Georgia Tech's winning. Dude, they're playing a great game right now. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Next game, kind of a homer game. Stu, we talked about it a little bit before we started the pod. Central Michigan versus FIU. We have the over at 51.5. Man, I actually had this on my list of bets to possibly make or not make, and right now it's still on that pending one. I like the over at the 51.5. I almost like the spread at 6.5 for FIU. I think FIU is one of those teams that's on the up and up. Slowly but surely they're getting better and better. They kind of looked awful last week against Indiana. I mean, they got rocked in a game that I thought was maybe going to be a little bit more competitive, even though Stu shit all over that. But here we are, Central Michigan versus FIU. What do you have, Stu?
I mean, this is the first game in Pitbull Stadium. I mean, A Street's going to be
Yeah.
rocking. This is going to be awesome. What's interesting about this over under is 66% of the volume of the bets are on the under, while 67% of the actual money is on the over. So it looks like the dumb money is coming in. A lot of dumb bettors are betting on the under, while the smart money, Stupid Stu and Kevin, and the smart money, we're on the over at 51.5 here. So I like it. I'm going to probably put a couple units on this. Central Michigan moved the ball really well last week. 7th in the country and 13.5 yards per attempt, 378 total pass yards. Rush game was decent, right on around 5 yards per carry. FIU's offense was the opposite. I mean, like I said, they were outmatched. They were horrible. 1.8 yards per carry, 4.4 yards per attempt. These are Michigan offensive numbers. I mean, defense allowed 194 rush yards. I mean, they just got beat the whole game. But I think getting back at home, getting into Pitbull Stadium, like we said, not a lot of turnover on this FIU Panther team. Like, I think they're just going to get back to it. I really see they could score some points. I think Central Michigan can too. I think this over is going to be done by halftime.
Listen, we're talking about a first home game after calling it Pitbull Stadium. There's no fucking way that we're losing this game. This is going to be a beautiful game. We're going to cover the spread. This is going to be great. We're going to have, people in bald caps with glasses screaming Dale the entire time. Carlos is out there signing contracts, doing what he needs to do to make sure that Worldwide Productions is a worldwide corporation, and it's going to be great. We're going to be here rocking FIU gear. Rocking FIU
92% of the total tickets are on the Central Michigan on the spread too. So
Looks
not a lot of Panther love
The
coming. Perfect time. Perfect
that's
the
time to get on.
numbers the numbers love Central Michigan.
yeah. The numbers lie. Don't forget, numbers lie.
Yeah,
Numbers lie.
they lost Minnesota. They lost the Minnesota game.
Numbers lie. Next game I have here, South Florida, USF versus Alabama. I like Bama here at 30.5. Chucky, what do you feel about this?
I mean, this is a game I'm not going to bet. I really want to keep monitoring how I'm really interested to watch the game for two reasons. I think Alabama's offense looked unbelievable. They had the most
Mhm.
effective offense and differential. Obviously, they played a really bad FCS team, so it's hard to learn too much. But I mean, I think Jalen Milroe had like over 300 yards passing or something like on nine pass attempts, like 200 something yards on nine pass attempts or something crazy like that. So I just want to see how good Alabama's offense looks. And ultimately, USF is a team with Alex Golesh at head coach, who is a former Tennessee offensive coordinator under Josh Heupel. So he's one of these, one of the more intriguing like offensive names. And
Mhm.
as a fan of a team that's currently in the market for a new head coach, he's a name to monitor, long term to see if USF has something. So I'm just more interested to see if USF, last year they obviously almost beat Alabama. It was super close.
Yeah.
So I'm more interested just to monitor to see how good USF and I think it's Byron Brown is the name of the quarterback who's super impressive but young. I want to see if he's able to do anything impressive. I don't think USF's going to cover. I don't think USF's going to make it a game, but I do want to see if they're able to move the ball on this Bama team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
agree.
is Byron Brown. He's getting some NFL scouts turning heads. Apparently, I mean he's a pretty good prospect. He might be in the portal soon if he doesn't go to the league. But what's interesting about this game, I believe last year's was ugly offensively, and then this year it's
Yeah.
kind of looking like it might be the opposite. I mean, you got a Kalen DeBoer offense going up against this USF offense that's pretty exciting, but USF can't stop anyone. So I mean, it's kind of the opposite of last year's game, which is interesting to see.
Yeah, that's true.
I think last year's when Jaden Milroe got benched was after the USF game, if I remember correctly.
It
At the
Right? It
was.
was
USF
definitely a big
Alabama
reason
game.
in why he got benched.
Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah, because
might
they,
be.
they won
It might be. It might
17-3 and
be.
just couldn't move the ball.
Yeah, it might be. Next big game. Oh, well, I have another game here. This is one of yours. Kansas versus Illinois. I have Illinois at +6. How do you feel
I
about
do
it?
have them. Yeah, I mean, Kansas ran the ball very well. Didn't really pass it that well. Only had 199 pass yards, which is kind of the opposite of what we saw from that Lance Leopold offense last year. Illinois, to me, just looked good all around. I mean, I watched this game, so this is more of an eye test bet. I mean, I'm probably gonna see how this one goes. But defense allowed only 49 rush yards to Eastern Illinois. Offense had really 242 pass yards, 8.3 air yards per attempt, not bad. I really liked Luke Altmaier, the quarterback. I mean, he had a connection with Pat Bryant, who caught 2 touchdowns. They seem to have a really good chemistry going on. And then one other thing I liked is 11 players for Indiana caught the football. So it wasn't this high-powered attack, but it was a very efficient attack. You're
Spread
catching
it.
6 points in a winnable game. Sign me up. Sign me up. You're at home. This is my home dog bet.
Stu, I'm gonna stick with you here because this is gonna be your team, Tennessee versus NC State. How are you feeling about this game, Papa? Talk to me.
Man, I mean, I think Charlie might have a play on this. I'm actually not going to take a play on this just because
I don't want to bet with your
this
heart.
one. No, it opened
Hey,
at 5.5 and it's up to 10. And I watched that NC State game and I'll just tell you Tennessee looked awesome. I mean, you're top 20 and rushing and passing. They looked awesome. NC State, I think they actually have some pretty good weapons. I think Jordan Waters is going to be a really good player. I think Casey Concepcion could be player of the week. I mean, he was so good out there. I think their timing was a little bit off and they were just a little bit sloppy. I think when Grayson McCall, he looked like a gamer to me. They showed me more, even though they played bad against an FCS school, they showed me more going down and kind of answering and not crumbling than if they would have just played a nobody and had this easy win. And I just like the weapons. I like the freshman tight end they had. I worry a little. I think NC State has a little bit of talent to them. And if they get it to click, I think they could just hang around and backdoor cover. I'm just worried about that.
I would take Tennessee minus any number. Grayson McCall was so overrated last week. He has not looked good outside of Jamie Chadwell's offense. Last year, he was so much worse than he was his first couple of years. He threw for 300 yards, but it took 40 passes to get there against a bad team. Concepcion is a guy who has put up a lot of yards his whole career, but he's done it, only like at 11 yards a clip or something, a reception. I'm not a big fan of this NC State team. The metrics don't love them. I just think I just don't think they have firepower to keep up with Tennessee at all. And I think Tennessee kind of, beats them by multiple scores and covers that 10-point spread.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. I agree with both of you guys. What you're saying there. I think Tennessee. I think Tennessee kind of covers the spread, and it'll be a fun. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. I definitely think it's one of those games where you kind of see where both teams stand, and that's where we'll really get. Tennessee played Chattanooga last week. I mean, we wouldn't see Tennessee played anybody, right? So NC State played Western Carolina, and then they kind of struggled against them. So I'm kind of excited to see two deep teams kind of. I think Tennessee edges them out by a little bit. I do want to see how NC State stands against Tennessee and see where we're at after this week on both those teams. Next game I have here is Colorado, Nebraska. I have Colorado here at 7.5. What do you guys think about this game?
I mean, I'm so pumped for this game. This is
Yeah.
awesome. I think Matt Rule, year two, Nebraska. I really like their defense. And I think ultimately, like Matt Rule is going to take the air out of the ball a little bit in this game. I think, you have a true freshman quarterback in his first big game. And even though it's home, it's going to be such a charged atmosphere. I think that's one worry I have about Nebraska. But ultimately, my play here is the under. I think it's at 57.5. And I like taking the under here. I just think both offenses will be able to move the ball, but I think Matt Rule's ultimately going to try to limit the possessions. And I think Colorado's defense, I don't think is going to be able to slow down Nebraska's run game enough.
Colorado's defense doesn't stop anybody.
No, it doesn't. But I just don't think they're going to I don't think Matt Rule's going to get suckered into, an up and down, throwing down the field
Yeah.
match, which I think Colorado would love. I think Matt Rule's really disciplined coach. Second year, I think he knows what he wants to do. I don't think he's going to put the ball in Rayola's hands too much. And I think ultimately, no, I think Nebraska wins. 7.5 is going to be a lot to cover. So I'm going to probably not end up picking a side unless I look at it more and come away with something else. But I already made a play on the under. Uh,
On the
just
total.
it's weird because I did not expect to be taking in week two Iowa overs and Colorado unders, but for
Well,
some reason
it's
here
here.
I
It's
am
here. It's
doing
here.
that.
College football
Funny
Going
you
game.
say
against
that.
anything I would have thought 2 weeks ago, but you know what? I like the number.
You know what?
Funny you say that. I have the first half under in this game, and it's one of my favorite picks. I took first half under 28.5. Colorado couldn't stop anything. They looked a lot like last year. The defense was struggling versus undersized players. The
All
passing
flash,
attack
dude.
is phenomenal.
All
Jimmy Horn
flash.
is third in the country in receiving yards. Then we all know what Travis Hunter can do. Offensive line just did not impress me. Colorado only ran for 59 yards on 23 rushing attempts with a long run of 11 yards. I mean, on your home opener against North Dakota State at home, that's terrible. Nebraska to me looked awesome. Balanced
Yeah.
attack, 284 pass yards, 223 rush yards. Dylan Raiola was 19 of 27, 2 touchdowns. He already has a connection with Isaiah Nayer, the transfer in, who's going downfield. 11 players caught passes with the diaper dandy here. I'd love to see that. Defense held UTEP to 92 yards. That's 27th in the country in rush defense. Colorado's rush defense is 110th in the country. I mean, that's horrible. Nebraska last year was ninth in the country in total rushing defense. Tons of players on defense got involved, like Charlie was saying. For your local Miami listeners, Willis McGahee IV had a couple solo tackles out there. You'd love to see that. And UTEP didn't even enter the red zone against this Nebraska team. I think it's going to be exactly like Charlie said. I think Matt Rule, second year, I think he's going to take the air out of the ball. I don't think he wants to get into a shooting fest. The spread, I do like Nebraska, but man, I could see Colorado with a late cover. And since we already took those Nebraska futures, if you listen to the first episode, we just want to win this game
Yeah.
and just get to 7.5 wins here.
I just want to add one more thing
Go ahead.
to the Nebraska game is just Nebraska's defense is legit. Like they came in as a top 10 defense on paper. They're already up to number 6 on SP Plus, which is like my favorite ratings to follow,
Mm-hmm.
which is opponent adjusted, tempo adjusted, everything. So you're talking about the sixth best defense. Yes, Shador Sanders looks legit. They're really good. But this is a team that I think in the offseason was preparing for this game and we'll be ready. Look, Colorado's going to score. They're going to move the ball. They're going to do pretty well against this defense. They'll probably be one of the better offenses Nebraska faces, but I think Nebraska's going to win. I think the under will cash. Whether they cover that 7.5 is, I don't know. I don't. If I have the 7.5 ticket for Colorado, I don't hate it at all.
Yeah.
So I'll probably end up just going
Yeah, I
under.
like the under here as well. I think I have this game, coming out 2032. Nebraska is sitting on top. So I think right now I actually have the under at 59. So or I have the total points at 59. So right now I'm projecting to go under at 52. I do think this game is kind of like a tale of two different teams, right? Colorado's just all flash, kind of no substance. They have, sure, Sanders, Hunter, talk about like a Heisman candidate, like what a pair to have on your team, right? But Nebraska is like a team that is a well-coached team. I do like Nebraska here. I think Colorado, I like Deion Sanders. I don't think he's a great coach, but I will say that he did beat Nebraska last year in his second game as a Colorado head coach. So that being said, we'll see. I'm excited for this game. This is going to be a lot of fun. Houston, Oklahoma.
Yeah. Final point there too.
Go
It's
ahead.
Memorial Stadium, man. It's going to be loud in there. I mean, this is your Connor Stallion Stadium. You need to steal signals over here. You can't hear anything out there. So it's going to be fun to see Colorado try and operate. With the see if that green mic goes out and how they operate offensively.
Yeah, they don't worry. They all wear these really cool sunglasses that they give out the place. It's very cool.
And it's a throwback rivalry too. They used to play in the Big 12 North. They
That
were the
is true.
two best programs in like that in the 90s. They were going back and forth.
Thanksgiving Day Classic, yeah. Usually.
Thanksgiving Day
Yep,
Classic.
that's when Chris Brown ran for like 300 yards Eric Crouch in Nebraska, beat him like 62-24, I think, or something.
Eric Crouch, man. When's the last time you hear that name?
Threw more picks than touchdowns and won the Heisman.
I hate that guy. That guy stole a Heisman from Rex Grossman. It was insane.
From Ken Dorsey and Willis McGahee.
From Ken Dorsey.
Willis McGahee. It wasn't Willis McGahee. Willis McGahee wasn't even the starting running back that year. That was 2001.
Was it Portis?
No, it was Dorsey.
No.
Yeah,
I'm saying
Portis was
starting
the
running
He
Portis was the
stole
back.
it.
Yes.
Rex got second, and Rex had like one of the best offensive quarterback seasons
Oh
ever.
God! Come on.
Get
They got
outta
beat.
here, bro.
They got beat just
Get
like they
out of
got
the
beat this past
swamp,
weekend.
dude. Get out of here.
We
All
got
right.
beat scored. We got beat scoring 32 points. It wasn't like we didn't score.
Houston versus Oklahoma. Stu, you have the over here at 49.5. Is that right?
I do, and I also have Oklahoma at minus 27.5. I'm riding this OU team as long as I can. One, this has two things I like. One, I really like OU offensively. Their numbers didn't look that impressive, like number wise, if you look at the box score and all that. But this new OC, Seth Luttrell, he used to be the old North Texas head coach for a bunch of years. He's their OC now. He's impressing me. Jackson Arnold, great Heisman pick by Charlie the week before. If you got that, he looks great. Watching this offense, I saw this game live. I mean, they were active in getting the ball to Deion Burks. They featured him all over the offense, reverses. They had him in the slot, quick slants to plays of the boundaries. The game script didn't call for OU to get really crazy on offense. That's why the numbers weren't that crazy, because they scored on a scoop and score on special teams. Their defense had 6 turnovers. But Venables is king of smashing bad teams at home. This is what this guy does. It's a tough place to play in Norman. And last year he dominated TCU, West Virginia, Iowa State, all at home. I like the way the backup looked if I need to cover, too, at the 27.5 late. Michael Hawkins Jr. looked really good. And then also on the Houston side, holy cow, this team's bad. Donovan Smith, their quarterback, stinks. He had a 3.9 QBR versus UNLV. 3.9. This is Rex Grossman bad at the Chicago Bears, Chucky. And then Houston had 1.5 yards per carry against UNLV. I mean, I think Oklahoma is going to win this game huge. I think they're going to cover the over on their own. I think they're going to cover the spread. And we're just going to take our money to the bank and get out of there.
I love the Rex Grossman dick at the end.
Hey, Rex Grossman 2001, take it to the bank. Throw in a Riche Caldwell, Jabbar Gaffney, Taylor Jacobs. That was like one of the best Gator offenses ever.
The
Disgusting.
Rex Grossman dig. Oh, God.
I will say for Houston, Willie Fritz is a good coach. He's a former Tulane coach and really built that program. But his first year taking over for Holgerson, like he's got nothing. Like that Houston team is just a mess. He had to portal in like 40 players. They're one of the most turned over rosters in the country. And, I'm sure he'll get it turned around eventually. It ain't going to happen this week.
Yeah. Oh, God. Sorry. I'm still laughing at Rex Grossman. All right, I have the next big game is Boise State, Oregon. I like Oregon here at minus 18. I saw it minus at 20 some places. I think that the Ducks, they kind of struggled against Idaho in the opening game, and I think that they're going to come in with a lot bigger effort. The Idaho game was like kind of weird. They had 24 points. Oregon had 31 first downs and ran 87 plays. Boise State can run the ball, but I don't think they could throw it against Oregon. I just don't see that. I don't see them covering the spread by any means. I like Oregon here. minus 18, minus 20. You can still find it at like minus 110 in some places. You guys have any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Oregon play. I just think what makes this hard is that they both played, like each of them for different reasons, played in two of the weirdest games of
Yeah.
the week in week one. So it's really hard to know what to read into it. Boise State scored at will, mainly on the run. Their quarterback still just doesn't look the part. I think Malachi Nelson not winning that job is just still weird to me. And then Oregon, like their numbers, like without looking at the score, looks fine. But I didn't watch the game, but it seems like they fell apart every time they hit the red zone. So they had like
Yeah.
decent numbers, just from counting stats, but they ended up only winning by 10. Idaho had those trick plays and everything like that. I still believe in this Oregon team. I still think they're a top five team. 21.5 against a Boise team that I kind of downgraded based on how they played week one. Just their defense
Yeah.
looks so bad. I don't know if I trust their pass game. I think they played a really bad defense, which they were able to run all over. They can't run like that against Oregon. So yeah, I think I would lean your way, but if it gets a little more than like 19, I don't think I would touch it.
I think the over total here could be a good bet too. I think it's at 61.5. That could be a fun game to bet the
And
over
yeah.
in total.
It opened there, and it's still at 61.5. So,
Yeah.
yep. I mean,
Next,
I think what you guys think there
go
too. I
ahead.
mean, what I really want to watch with Oregon going forward is how that offensive line plays, especially red zone, like Charlie was mentioning. 107th in country and rush yards. I know it's a 1 game sample size, but that's just not impressive from what we expected coming out of there. And I can tell you right now, if they can't run the ball, Dylan Gabriel's not going to be good enough to live up to all this Oregon hype, despite how great their roster might be. One more comment too on that game last week that you guys picked this Boise State Georgia Southern over 56-45. You guys were all over that one. I mean, holy cow! So whatever voodoo we did to pick that pick, we need more of that magic.
Yeah, we need some of that Cuban Santeria. Next big game I have is Texas Tech, Washington State. Texas Tech is kind of banged up here. I like Washington State money line on this game right now. Texas Tech is predicted to win this game. I think the spread is at 2.5 points. I don't even want that. Give me full money line on Washington State. Yeah. Do you guys know anything about this game?
I know some, but yeah, Texas Tech looks banged up. They didn't play well last week. I think
Yeah.
it's a nice play.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what are they? The Red Raiders, dude. They got lucky.
Oh, I
Basically.
think Washington State is favored now.
Oh, are
So I
they?
don't know if that flipped or what. Yeah,
Oh, I got it.
they should be favored because they're home against a pretty even team.
See, it opened at a Washington State -1.5, and now you can get 1.5 out there or 2.5 still. So Washington State's favored by 1.5 to 2.5. Looks like 2.5 on most books.
That's all I have for this week. Do you guys have any bets that we didn't go through?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Okay.
All right,
Go
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 ahead.
I
go
have
ahead.
one more, so I'll let Charlie go first.
I mean, just one play. I have two plays actually. One is Virginia money line against Wake Forest.
Okay.
I think it's close to a pick 'em, so you should get the money line at about plus 110. Plus, I got plus 110. So Virginia's just straight up to beat Wake Forest. I think Tony Elliott really struggled to get his footing at Virginia in his first couple of years, but I think they look a little more sure of themselves. He's had kind of a weird tenure. And Wake Forest, I love Dave Clawson, but they just weren't very good last year. I think that's a program that's kind of trying to find itself again. So I took Virginia to win that game. And then this one, I don't feel as good about as I looked into it more, but I did take Maryland -8 versus Michigan State. I think similarly, like Aiden Childs didn't like that was a guy I was really excited to like check out. Digging into his numbers, he didn't look that great. I think Maryland's just ahead of Michigan State in their program build. Jonathan Smith, I think, is again a good coach, but I don't think we'll see what he's going to do at Michigan State necessarily this week.
Yeah. Stu, you?
Yeah, sorry. I'll go into my last pick right now. I was trying to look because that Maryland game, I think it opened and it's moved a little bit in Maryland's to a little higher towards Maryland, having to cover more points. But my last pick is the Baylor Utah game Saturday 3:30. I like Utah by 14.5. I don't really like that number with the hook, but run defense looked pretty good. Only allowed 101 rushes on 41 carries. That's good to Tarleton State. But on offense, Baylor's just not there yet under Dave Aranda. 3.8 rush yards a carry. That's not any good. DeQuan Finn, their quarterback, doesn't look very good. He threw 2 picks, 14 completions for 192 yards. I just Utah was able to move the ball okay on the ground. They're getting 4.7 yards per carry. That's not special, but they can pass it around the yard a little bit. You know, their pass game had 328 pass yards, 12.6 yards per attempt. You have Utah at home. It's always one of the trickiest places to play for some reason. And then Utah's defense, they held Southern Utah to 79 total rush yards. I mean, that looks as stout as always. Kyle Whittingham is 46 and 27 as a double digit favorite. So get me Cam Rising,
against the
get
spread.
me Kyle Whittingham, get me the Utes, 14 and a
Get
half,
me the
low number in the double
Utes.
digits. Easy bet right here. Baylor stinks.
How do you guys
I'll tail
feel?
that. I'll tail that.
Hey, we're here. We're here to tail it. How do you guys feel about? We didn't really talk about it. Appalachian State versus Clemson. I have them at 17.5 point spread. I don't know, man. Clemson looked really bad. I mean, I understand. I
I mean,
understand who they were playing, but they didn't look
yeah. I
great at
mean,
all.
Clemson's fine. It's Georgia. I mean, we saw when Alabama used to always play these teams first game of the season under Nick Saban, they made them look so different than they were the rest of the year. I wouldn't go crazy into how Clemson looked. I still think they're a top 25 team. I still think they'll be fine. Cade Klubnik, obviously a joke. Like he's just not good. It's never good when like your worst starter is your quarterback, and then your O line just doesn't look all
Yep.
there. But those are problems that we knew Clemson had coming in. I didn't think Clemson was going to keep it close against Georgia anyway, so I haven't moved off what I think of Clemson at all. I still think, they're around the 15, 20th best team in the country and should handily beat an Appalachian State team. I won't bet it, but if they end up playing a close game to Appalachian State, then all of a sudden that'll get really interesting with
I,
the how
Yeah.
open the ACC will look at that point.
I, I think Clemson's going to cover here. It's a lean. I'm not taking it as a pick, but I think they're just going to give a heavy dose of Maffa. He's a good back. Their offensive line's way too big for App State's going to be totally outclassed here. And that Clemson defense, they looked great in the first half against Georgia. I mean, Georgia took a little bit to wake up, but they were tackling well. They were hitting the heck out of people. Peter Woods is an absolute monster. That guy is Ruben Baines 2.0. That guy is unbelievable. I think Clemson's going to just App State has no chance in my opinion. I don't feel good about them covering 17 and a half that well with Cade Klubnik, but I will say this, Clemson the last couple of years, they've lacked playmakers on the boundary and on the perimeter. And this Clemson team, they've done really well in the recruiting at getting some of these receivers in the past year or two. They were making some plays on the outside. Their tight end had some unbelievable catches. I think this Clemson team is going to be a top 25 team, like Charlie was saying. Probably no ability to get in that top 10 until the quarterback play improves, and it looks like they're pretty much stuck with what they got.
Yeah, I agree. So
Or one
any
more game.
what? I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. No, I just got one more game.
Go for
South
it.
Carolina, Kentucky.
Talk
South
to me.
Carolina, Kentucky. I don't know who I'm going to play, but this to me, like if you want to overreact to week one, South Carolina looked absolutely awful. The
They did.
Shane Beamer and that team and Shane Beamer had the look of a guy. If you look at his post game interviews and you look at his post game press conference, he had the look of a guy that he's going through it. I think he's on the hot seat already. They don't look very good. They're getting, I think, 9.5 points against Kentucky, and ultimately, I don't think that'll be enough. The reason why, it's not a stone cold play yet for me is I want to dig in more into this Kentucky team and see like what they've really got because that's a team I'm just not very familiar with right now.
Yeah.
Kentucky allowed 5 total yards to Southern Miss in week one. I mean, Southern Miss is not that bad. That game got called early because of weather, but that 5 yards. So, and they're 29th in the country, 6.2 yards per carry. Man, South Carolina looked terrible. 3.1 yards per carry, 101st in the country. Defense allowed over 100 rush yards. Offense could only pass for 114 yards, less than 5 yards an attempt. That was stupid, Stu. I picked South Carolina last
I was
week.
gonna
I'm,
say. I was
I'm
gonna
done.
say.
I'm done with them.
I don't want to
I'm
say
done
it.
with them.
I don't want to say
I'm
it, but it
done
was
with them.
stupid stew.
That was one of the 2 losses, and that one sucked.
Yeah, I think week one was a lot of fun. I think week two is also going to be a lot of fun. I'm just excited for college football. I don't really get my juices flowing for college football until like week 5. That's when you really get into the nitty gritty and you start seeing like all these teams really coming together, and you really saw this season blossom. You get your really top contenders. You start seeing your Heisman candidates shine. But I'm just excited for football, man. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I love the college football playoff. I think it's very exciting. Do you guys have in your head, how we call the dance is what we call March Madness. You know, the big show is there, or what is it? The show is the MLB. What's the college football playoff? What's the nickname gonna be? Do you guys have ideas? Are we gonna call it the cage match? Is it gonna be called the Pitbull playoff?
Maybe the Dale.
The Dale playoff.
No, I don't know.
It's got to have something. It's got to be something exciting, because I mean, I just hate saying college football playoff. It's too many words.
If Miami gets snubbed, it's going to be the snubbing or whatever, the snubbery, because that's all I know. Put the Canes in.
Snubbery.
Put the Canes in already. We already saw what happens. Put them in.
I love it, dude. I love it. I love the hypeness on
win the ACC.
Oh, I mean, out of all those games I saw, I don't see Miami losing the ACC. They looked incredible. They looked incredible. Cam Ward's going to be a Heisman winner. Miami's going to be national champions. Put a ticket on it right now. Go for it. Could we talk about I went 3-0 on the homer picks?
We told everyone to take those high chasing futures with Miami. You'd be sitting pretty. If you took your Jackson Arnold Heisman picks, you'd be sitting pretty. Some of these futures, Ohio State, I know they weren't the story of week one, but I mean, they turned it on in a couple quarters and showed you how good they could be. They scored twice with that Jim Knowles defense. If you took that Ohio State future,
all of our futures look good. All of our futures look pretty
really good. Nebraska's over, looks great. And I'm telling you, Syracuse is going to stink this week. So that one will look good too. Just give it a week. So let's go Ramblin' Wreck.
I'm super excited for college football. Any last thoughts on college football, NCAA? Stu?
No, I mean, I'm all in on the Canes stuff. I'm trying to keep I think this national season is going to be unbelievable. It really looks like we have 12 or 15 teams here that are all looking like they can contend for this thing, and you're going to have a really interesting playoff. UNLV kind of looked really good in the group of 5. I know everyone's thinking Boise, and now UNLV looked really good. So that could be interesting as that race goes on. And then, we already know the independent Notre Dame's going to get in there too. So they're going to steal a spot.
Always. What about you, Chucky? How are you feeling so far?
I mean, I'm just excited for the season overall. Obviously, I'm now a more national college football fan since my team's already out of it one game in. I think this playoff, there's a lot I don't like about where college football's at, but one positive thing about the playoff is just I think there's going to be just so many more relevant games, relevant teams late into the year. So I'm just really excited to see how it unfolds.
I love it. As a Gators fan, what's your second team that you root for?
No, it's still Florida. I'm still making my schedule around Florida. I'm watching every game, every play.
Yeah, but they're not going to be contenders.
I don't have a second team. Whoever's playing Florida State, Miami, Tennessee, or Georgia.
And who's ever against them?
Got second teams.
Are you an SEC guy all the way through though? Do you?
No, that's the dumbest thing. The SEC's got a reputation already. We don't need to keep winning to maintain it. So for me, those are the teams we recruit against most of the time. So
right.
I never root for SEC teams unless they're playing each other and one's not Georgia. Then I was the biggest Tua fan of all time when he threw that winning touchdown to Devontae Smith to beat Georgia. That was the best.
So
how are you feeling about this? Sorry, how are you feeling about this Texas A&M Florida game in the next week? Right? It's not this week; it's next week. I mean,
terrifying.
Texas A&M stunk. Texas A&M stunk week 1, and then Florida stunk too.
You can't kill someone who's already dead. You can't kill someone who's already dead.
These programs are fighting.
What is it? You want me to go through? You want me to give you a weekly update on my hot forward?
I want a Texas A&M fan on too.
Who's your number one dream coach right now? Who's available?
Well, I mean, do you want realistic or
realistic?
I mean, my number one, and I know people would have a version when they first hear it. It would be James Franklin.
Okay.
I would have him ahead of Lane Kiffin.
I was gonna say I thought Kiffin was up for the role.
That's everyone's, but I mean, you look at his career is pretty overrated. When you look at it, he's been 9 seasons as a major football coach at good programs, including USC, and has only had 3 good seasons.
Sure.
And every single job he's had, he's left on bad terms, except for FAU.
FAU, baby. The truth of Florida is FAU. People don't realize it, but FAU is what's killed the big 3 programs in Florida. Because all these all of our second and third string special teams players are now starting at the USFs, FAUs, and FIUs, and now we're struggling. Now we're struggling to find backup players. All right, so let's take a
Some
quick
tweets
break
around.
here. When we come back, we're going to go into week 1 NFL football. I'm excited. We'll see you now. All right, so we're back. We're back with NFL football. Welcome. Dun, 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 to week 1 NFL football. Guys, we're super excited. I'm super excited about NFL football. Not my favorite football. I do like college football a little bit better. But NFL football is like college football on steroids. We're talking about men playing men in NFL football. The honor and glory is all out the door. This is about money and just like city pride. And that's what I love about NFL football. So I'm going to start off with NFL football with the stupidest thing possible. All right, you guys are going to join me on this. I know you might not agree with this, but I have a little bag here.
Let's do it.
Okay, and all this baggie, there's all NFL teams. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to put 3 units on the money line on whichever helmet I pick.
Wow. I'm in. Let me get my app open.
Okay. I haven't even if it's for, obviously we're doing this on Thursday night, so if it's Chiefs or Ravens, we'll toss it out. All right, you ready? Let's be a good team.
Do it.
Stu, are you ready?
Oh, I hope there's 32 Dolphins helmets in there, and we're gonna be fine.
All right, I'm not looking. Oh no, the Tennessee Titans.
Wow.
Oof. We know one guy. We all have a mutual friend who's gonna be super excited about this. 3 units on the Tennessee
We
Titans.
do.
I'm gonna put this out here. We'll
You know
never
what I
bet
like
on
about
the,
the
Plus 155 on the money
Big-
line, so at least we
Yeah.
get that.
we're never gonna
Yeah.
bet this
I
again. I'm
also
taking
like-
it out of the bag.
I also like that the Titans were the first team to beat Peyton Manning in the playoffs, so that's good juju right there.
That's a lot of good juju.
Good
You
Titans right there.
and freaking Peyton Manning, dude. Again, we talked about it before. The only man that I know that hates Peyton Manning. He's a beloved NFL quarterback. Well, you
If
and
I
the
was the
victim.
Titans, I
You
love
and the
Peyton Manning
victim.
too.
You and the
19
victim.
of 42.
So listen, let's
I want to
perfect
get into that.
perfect segue. Let's talk about Tennessee versus Chicago. Yes, Tennessee's at plus 155 to win this. So we're good again. As a pod, 3 units on Tennessee. I took them out of the bag. We'll never have to bet on Tennessee again. But that being said, let's talk a little about this game. Caleb Williams comes out. He's going to debut. Freaking Bears. I mean, the Bears are pumped this season. I feel so bad for the Chicago Bears. I feel like they always get excited, and then every year they freaking suck. But Titans have a new head coach in Brian Callahan. He was the Bengals offensive coordinator for like 5 seasons. He's trying to overhaul an offense that ranked 28th both in points and yards per game in 2023 and no longer has freaking Derrick Henry, which we all know is an absolute beast. You know, he's going to try to develop Will Levis, who's entering his first full season as a starter. They signed Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, Tony Pollard, and I just feel like Tennessee doesn't. They have actually. They don't. It's not that they don't have a chance. We're talking about the Bears here, but I do think that this game is going to lead a little bit towards the Bears, not by much. Personally, on this game, I have the best bet as DeAndre Swift over 9.5 total carries at minus 128. I think that's super low for Swift. I think that he, was a top free agent during this offseason. And when you look at his attempts, props, Swift is like the lowest of all primary starting running backs. I think Blake Curham's total is even like 6.5. So I really like DeAndre Swift here, over 9.5 total carries and minus 28. I have a full unit on it. I also like Will Levis has a 1.5 total passing touchdowns. I think this is going to be a 2 touchdown game with Will Levis. I'm hoping now that we pulled his helmet out, it's going to be a 3 touchdown game. And then I have them. And then I think that's at minus 189. I have like a half unit on that. But those are my two picks for this game. And now, 3 picks on this game. Don't forget. Moneyline. 3 units.
I already got the bet in. I got the bet in.
It's already in. And listen, fate is fate.
It's already in.
You don't tempt the gods.
94% of the money is on the Chicago on the money line, so we're the 6%. So
That's
let's
smart money,
represent.
baby. That's smart money. Listen, fate doesn't lie. I picked Michigan to win the national champion last year. Same way. My dog picked it. Think about it that way.
Ooh, I like that.
All right, let's big game. The next big game, I think it's probably one of the better games this week is Green Bay, Philadelphia, Packers. But these are two teams that kind of coming into the season on different sides. Green Bay comes in really well. That they finished the second half of their season really well. Jordan Love looked very good. Philadelphia kind of started stinking at the end there, lost a little bit of confidence in their offense. I think this is going to be a tale of two quarterbacks. For Love, it's going to be whether or not he could build on that second half that he had and justify that contract extension that he got. I think he's like the highest paid quarterback in the NFL right now. He was borderline unstoppable, and he was the reason why they made it to the playoffs. If he plays like how he did there, I really like Green Bay here. This is a tight line. I think it's at 2.5 spread. Philadelphia on the other side. I mean, if Hurts plays like we know that he can as an MVP candidate, we're talking about a guy that could run the ball, pass the ball, has a great line. Now they have Saquon Barkley behind him. I think this team should be playing very well. Again, this is week 1. We don't know really where everybody sits. Preseason doesn't give you that look out here. Philadelphia minus 2.5. I kind of like this bet. I do think this game's going to be really close. I would stay away from the over on this game, though, in total points at 49. I think it's going to be a lot tighter than people give it. It's also in Brazil. So I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Carlos, about this game? Do you like these quarterbacks? Do you like this offense?
I've been getting a lot of Jordan Love in fantasy. I just like his receiving. I don't know who his
Okay.
number one is, but he's got good receivers. I think they're going to pass ball a lot. I
Yeah.
do think people are over, like, just like the Bears. I think the Packers are getting a little too much love and a little too much hype.
Okay.
And I think they're a little, I think, the quality, I see a lot of people picking them to be the NFC representative in the Super Bowl, which
Mm-hmm.
I just think is a little ahead of where they're at. I mean, they could absolutely get there. NFC is a little more open. But man, with Philadelphia, just something stinks in Denmark. I don't know how they ended that season was just so
Yeah, it was
ugly.
like
But man,
miscommunication on offense all the way around, right?
yeah, and just Jalen Hurts looked like it just looked miserable. Jalen Hurts looked worse. They do have two new coordinators, which should be a nice change of pace. But ultimately, I just feel like it's Sirianni's last year. I don't hate taking 2 points and kind of grabbing someone. Like ultimately, I think the Eagles are a better roster. And early in the year, I think it's not a bad play, but
This is Vic Fan. It's
something
now a
something feels off
Vic's
with Jalen.
Fangio.
Fangio, Kellen Moore. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this defense should step up their game and give their offense a break here. Super excited. I'm super excited for this game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. First time ever an NFL game has been played in South America. So
So
that's
crazy.
which is
What
wild.
I got a question for you, Kev. What's give me a country you would love to see an NFL game at that they haven't gone yet.
Dude, honestly, like I would love to see like a China
It's
or like a Tokyo game. Have they done a Tokyo game?
I don't think so,
I
no.
think that would
The
be
Tokyo
super
Dome.
fun.
Yeah,
I think that would be a lot of
that'd be
fun.
great.
Or go complete opposite and do it like in like a small city in Peru, like in the mountains.
I
And
love
just
that. Dude,
no
just
one's there.
remote mountains.
Remote. It's just you and the team. It's like a small college football stadium, like tiny little
I love
baseball
that.
stadium, and just see like what happens. Because I think football, the fans really get into football, and like crowd noise and stuff like that actually means something in football. So like if it's dead quiet, it were like when the basketball, when the NBA had the bubble and those games were like dead silent and it sounded like a video game almost.
It's
That's
just
kind of what I want
weird.
to see. It was
Yeah.
super weird, but I loved it. Let's talk about
I
our
like
home
I
team,
like the
baby.
Eagles. I like the Eagles. I'm
Oh
looking at
yeah,
their
yeah.
coaching staff. They
Okay.
have Clint Hurt, the old Miami Hurricane coach, Jeff Stoutland, he used to
He's
Yeah,
coach at
good.
the
dude.
U. And they got Joe Penanuzio or whatever, the O-line coach that Saban loves to tamper with in the portal.
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy right there. So I'm going to lean Eagles here.
Here's
I
the thing
think
with
there's
the
a lot of
Eagles.
pressure on
When they're playing
Sirianni.
well, they're a Super Bowl contender, right? Like they're great. They have a really good offense, and now with Saquon Barkley, they're even better. Are they going to play up to that expectation? Is kind of what we're going to see here. Let's talk about the home team. Jacksonville playing here, Miami. I have a lot of prop bets on this. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm not super high on Jacksonville. People like Jacksonville this year. I don't like them that much. Not just because it's a homer take. I think Miami's going to play really well. I think they're going to have a great offense. I have here total home points of Miami, 26.5 at -108. I have the over on points, and I have Miami money line. I also have on the other side, I have a Travis Etienne anytime touchdown score. I think the guy's a beast, and I think he's gonna get at least one on us, just because that's kind of Miami's way. We always give up a touchdown here and there, so give it to Travis Etienne. But I do like this game. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. It is a 1:00 game in Miami. It's gonna be hot. It's gonna be swampy. We know this. I think Miami has all the tools and weapons. I mean, bet all the overs if you want. You could bet the Tua overs. You could bet anything you want. They're just not great odds right now. I'm going big. I'm going big on Miami. I always do. It's a homer bet in me. I'm not saying it's a smart bet, but it's a fun bet, and I'm here for it. Chucky, what do you think?
Say what you want about Tua. This isn't December or January in Kansas City. September in Miami, Fins by 1,000. Stupid Stu knows it.
Yeah,
Fins by 1,000,000. They're gonna
yeah.
hit every over, every prop, cover everything. 3.5 is disrespectful. Bet responsibly, but get as close to irresponsible as you can with this one.
Bet responsibly, but like don't.
But get to the line. Look for that
Yeah,
line. That's what I'm saying. Come on, Mike McDaniel last year, like he just cooked up a
dude.
bunch of new screens and what is it called, motion plays and everything. The Chargers were so confused game
Dude,
one,
and the whole
so
look Mike
I'll
McDaniel
bet on that.
has, the whole look that he has, right? Like the like post Mark Anthony cocaine addiction. He's just
I
like
love it. I
miserable,
love
dude.
it.
I feel like he's in it. He's embraced the city. He's no longer that
He's been going
nerdy.
on football benders. He's been
Yeah,
going on
yeah,
football benders all off season. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
that guy
yeah.
hasn't even had time for a haircut. He's been just drawing up plays. Pray
I
for the
love,
Jaguars.
I love it. Stupid
Yeah,
Stu. What
I'd
do you
like to
think?
see some of the young guys that we just brought in get involved, or not maybe young, but the new guys. I'd like to see Jonnu Smith, maybe a tight end, get the tight end a little involved.
FIU
Jalen
baby.
Wright, Jalen Wright would be nice to see him getting a few carries. Maybe a third pass catcher if it's not Jonnu, whoever that is, can emerge. The Dolphins, we know what they bring to the table. They've had really good seasons back to back. We're looking for just those new guys, those that emerge on the scene, kind of like A-Chain last year, that could just give us that edge that we need this year to finish.
Yeah, I like A-Chain a lot this year too. I think he's gonna end up becoming the starting running back. I know Mostert, obviously our guy. Mostert's a little long in the tooth though. I know he had one of his best seasons he ever had last season, but I do think A-Chain's the future in that backfield. I also my biggest worry with Dolphins is their defense. I need them to stay healthy. I need them to be clean. I need these players that we picked up to play the entire season. But I'm super high on the Dolphins this year, man. I'm pumped. I'm pumped for it. Let's talk Monday night Jets, San Francisco. If this was the 90s, I would say this is the best game in the this is the best game in the NFL. But, San Francisco lost last year in the Super Bowl. I think San Francisco is my favorite this year to win the Super Bowl. I like them over the Jets. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has what everyone thinks he still has in his back pocket. I think he's still hurt. I don't trust this whole recovery that he said he's done and any of this stuff. I mean, this is a guy that's not going to be able to run the ball. He's not going to be able to do anything. The only bet I like here is the George Kittle over 41.5 receiving yards. I think Kittle's the man. He led all NFL tight ends last year with 606 receiving yards at home, and he did it in 7 games. He averaged 86.6 a game. That was right behind Travis Kelce at 71, right ahead of Travis Kelce with 71.6. He averaged 16 yards a catch at home. He was way more involved in the pass game at home than he was on the road. Brock Purdy had almost 150 quarterback rating throwing to tight ends at home last season, and the Jets, I don't think have an answer for him. So that's my favorite bet. You could get it at -119. I had 2 units on it. Other than that, I don't really have much to say about this game other than I hate the fucking Jets and I like the 49ers here.
Couldn't agree more with everything you said.
Yeah, screw the Jets, man. Other games that I like Washington, Tampa Bay. I like the total rushing and receiving yards for Rashad White at over 82.5 total rushing receiving yards at minus 115. I think he's a true workhorse back. I don't see anything with that role on the to stop that on the Washington side. I really like that bet a lot. I don't think that Washington has a chance to win this game. I think Tampa Bay is going to dominate them. You know, we're talking about a Washington team with a Jaden Daniels who could be very good. This could be very good. But we saw what Washington did back in the day when they had RG3. You know, I just don't trust Washington with these type of quarterbacks. You know, I just don't like it. I don't like them. I like Tampa Bay here, and I like that Rashad White bet. I think you could get Tampa Bay at minus 180 as a money line. If you could get it at that line, go ahead and pick it. What's it at, Stu? Do you have it in front of you?
Yeah, I do. Money line is Tampa Bay minus 185.
So you see it's creeping up there. I got it at minus 175 yesterday. So if you could, you know, that's not a huge, I wouldn't put too many units on it because it's not great odds, but it's still a little fun bet. I do see Tampa Bay dominating over this. Go ahead.
It's pretty good. I mean, it's hung around there since April. I mean, that's kind of the going number. So
Yeah.
not a lot of move in this. Opened at 4, spreads at 3.5. You know, this line stayed pretty steady throughout.
Yeah.
I gotta play this game.
Go
give me the over 42.5.
Oh, nice.
I was
I
going to
think
say
Washington.
there's some money coming in on the over. So
I believe in this Washington revamped offense. I think the pieces fit. I think I think the pieces fit, and I think Jaden Daniels will put up some points, and I just think they'll hit 42.5 is pretty low over, and I think they'll get there.
Sure.
I like that pick.
Sure. Yeah, I could see this game going to like a 29, 19, something like that.
Whatever cashes.
Whatever takes it.
I'll take whatever, yeah.
Whatever takes
I mean,
it.
24-19 cashes. I could see that for sure.
Sure, absolutely. Next big game, Denver, Seattle. I think Seattle takes this game. I like the Seahawks a lot this year. They've been kind of in a weird spot ever since they lost their Super Bowl, posting 10 or more wins 5 times in 9 years, but they never really get it done. I think Geno Smith is, he came back. He has a new contract. Does he play to his same skill that he was? They have a lot of weapons. I like Seattle here. I think my favorite prop bets on this one, I don't have any on the actual game lines. I do have 2 different prop bets that I like here. I like the total passing completion with Bo Nix at over 19.5 passing completions at minus 114. And then I also like the total away points at Denver at under 17.5 points. I think Seattle's defense is going to stuff him. Just stuff it. He's gonna struggle. I think Bo Nix is gonna struggle against Seattle, and I don't see him scoring as much as everyone's hyping him up here. So I like the under on Denver total points at 17.5, and I like him to complete 19.5 total passing completions.
Yeah, another low over-under. Looks like 39% of the tickets are on Seattle, but 83% of the money. So there's some big-time bettors betting on the Seahawks, kind of heading your way. Agreeing with you on that is what that tells me. I guess Denver fans are not feeling too good about themselves. The one thing I do like Sean Payton a lot. I mean, I think he can. I always get worried when you go against him. I think he knows how to use his personnel the best as anyone. But this is a tough spot for the Broncos. This is a tough spot.
Yeah, I mean, my thing with Sean Payton is he as good as coach as we all expected, or did he just have a really good team when he was winning?
I think he uses his personnel really well. I just think last couple of years in Denver, he wanted to sabotage that thing to just get rid of some extra fat that he needed to get out of there. He just couldn't win with he couldn't cook with Russ.
No, yeah. Hey, listen, country. What was it? Bronco country, baby. Let's ride. How do you guys feel about Russell Wilson? What do you think about this character? As a QB, would you want him on? If you're starting an NFL franchise and you're looking for a veteran QB,
this is screw NC State week. So I mean, I'm done. Screw him.
You don't want him.
absolutely not. I loved him coming out. I couldn't believe he slipped that far because he was just so good in college. But
Yeah.
he's such a corny personality, and like he just ever since he lost his ability to really scramble and move around as well as he did early in his career, he just didn't look the same. I'm not a fan at all. I wouldn't even want him as a backup.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. All right. Next big game, Chargers versus the Raiders. This is the first time we see Harbaugh's
Harbaugh.
new Chargers offense charged up, enriched. I have a bet here for the rookie, Lad McConkey, over 33 and a half total receiving yards at minus 14. I have 2 full units on this. I think he is going to be Justin Herbert's new sexy little option there. What do you guys feel about this game?
I mean, that's a wild little prop bet right there.
I know.
I mean, I can't. I love having Harbaugh back in the league. I just think
I
he's
love
so
Harbaugh, baby.
electric
I
of a
love
personality.
Harbaugh.
He's the best. Just drinking milk, wearing khakis. There was those. He went like 10 years without eating chicken just because some random guy told him that they're scared meat and he shouldn't eat them. And then someone told him he's an idiot, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And he's just eating chicken again.
It's like,
He's
I'm
the
so
best, man.
dumb. You're right. They're not
I'm
scared.
so I'm I'm so happy to have him back. But I mean, Lad McConkey, I can't follow you on that one.
Dude, I'm telling you, jump on it.
No,
McConkey.
no, you can't. I'm not gonna bet on Georgia Bulldog like that week one.
Oh, is it just because he's a Georgia Bulldog?
Not
Possibly.
just, but
Georgia replaced him with that Vanderbilt transfer. That kid's looks awesome. Looks like they got the McConkley 2.0 in there. But I like McConkley. I like that bet, Kevin. I think he's going to get that.
There we go. At least I got stupid stew on my end. I don't know how I feel about it, but here we are. Minnesota Giants. I like the Sam Darnold point of over 0.5 total passing interceptions. You know this guy's good for at least one fucking interception. This guy has like an awful history as a starting QB in the NFL.
he
He's good.
loves turnovers.
Loves
Loves turnovers.
turnovers. I love that bet here. I also think that Minnesota might even squeeze in a win under this team, and I do think this is like a kind of a garbage game though. I wouldn't really bet on much of this game other than that prop bet that I just said. I would kind of avoid this game like wildfire.
I love betting against crappy quarterbacks, so I'm down to short sell the Vikings here as
dude.
much as possible.
Sam Darnold
I love
sucks, dude.
I mean, you got
yeah.
two. I wish I could bet against both teams in that case.
Daniel
These are
Jones is
two
bad,
bad
but he's
quarterbacks.
not as bad as Sam Darnold. I mean, Daniel
This
Jones
is,
has some
I think,
attributes.
Is he?
He's just not good. He's really not good.
man,
But
he's.
Who's
I
Daniel
think
tell
Jones
you what,
throwing to these days?
he's
I
got
don't even
Malik
know.
I mean,
Neighbors.
Malik Neighbors. I
Malik
love,
Neighbors is going to emerge on the
love
scene.
Malik Neighbors.
You're right. You're
Uh,
right. You're right.
I will
Absolutely.
say
I mean,
this is the bleakest I've seen the quarterback picture on day one in the NFL. Like this day one before injuries, and like there's like 6 or 7 teams
A
that
lot.
like their quarterback, like Oakland, Giants, Vikings, Saints. There's Browns. You could even say with Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
They just have bleak quarterback
Listen, the
situations.
Jets with Aaron Rodgers. We're not sure if that guy's 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
There's other ones that can go either way. Like the Patriots have a bad QB situation, but you also, if you're a fan, hoping that Drake May emerges, down the road. So I wouldn't call that like horrible, but like the Steelers, like that's ridiculous.
yes, the Steelers. So let's talk a little about Steelers at Atlanta. These are two, brand new, like new in the sense of like they both have veteran quarterbacks. We have Kirk Cousins in Atlanta, and now we have a Russell Wilson who we just destroyed not too long ago over at Pittsburgh. I do think that he fits a little bit better in Pittsburgh than he did at Denver. I think Pittsburgh is in desperate need here. I think Atlanta kind of takes this one. I like Kirk Cousins. I always have liked Kirk Cousins. But the only prop bet I have for Kirk Cousins right now, I was looking at it earlier this morning. He has a 2.5 total carries at minus 167. I'm gonna put a half. I don't think this guy's gonna run the ball. I'm pretty sure he's injured.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
pretty
he's
sure.
coming off the Achilles.
Yeah, so I don't think that he's going to be running the ball, but he it's not like he ran much before. So I don't think he's going to be running here. I also like anytime touchdown scorer. I think you could see him as a plus 850.
Interesting.
And then Najee Harris at 51.5 total rushing yards at minus 119. I'm big on Najee Harris this year. Very bullish on him. I think they invested a lot in their offensive line. The Steelers have. And Arthur Smith you know, kind of iffy on him. I don't love him, but he did pretty good as an offensive coordinator with running backs. And I think Najee's in good shape. Jalen Warren is kind of dealing with a hamstring injury, so he's not going to be in 100% for week 1. So I think he's going to get, 15, 16, 17 carries this game. So I like him at 51.5 total rushing yards. Anything on this game?
I like Atlanta to
You-
cover. I just think
to
Pittsburgh's,
cover at 3.5.
yeah, I think they cover 3.5. I think they're home. I usually like betting against teams like Atlanta, Chicago, Green Bay that I think have gotten a little undeserved hype in the offseason. I think
Okay.
Atlanta, just because Arthur Smith left and they got Kirk Cousins. Obviously, they have the biggest quarterback upgrade, not because Kirk Cousins gonna set the world on fire, but just because Desmond Ritter's like not even gonna be in the NFL soon. Like I just think it was such an upgrade. But I think a lot of the hate of Arthur Smith was a little more fantasy than it was like Atlanta. I think a lot of people had saw like Bijan, Kyle
Kyle.
Pitts, and some of like the stars, and they would just get like really annoyed. And Drake London, they would just get really annoyed with how he used those players, which I think is fair. But I think
Well, he didn't use them. I think that
there's
was
not.
the argument is that they were not being used.
Well, I think a lot of that was more quarterback than anything. So
Yeah.
I do think Atlanta's improved. I don't think they're getting a little more hype than I think they should get, but I think game 1, man, the quarterback situation. I just don't trust Russ at all.
Yeah, that's the thing with Russell Wilson, right? Like, who are we going to get? Are we going to get the guy that took the Seahawks to a Super Bowl, or are we going to get, Denver
The guy we've
Broncos,
seen for
Russell?
the last 5 years. We're gonna get the guy we've seen.
Do you think he is like a Cam Newton situation where he was very good and then it kind of just fell off the mat? I think Cam Newton was more of an injury issue, right? Where he was like injured all the time and then couldn't get the reps in and then kind of lost faith. The team kind of lost faith in him.
I'm
Whereas,
very confused what happened with Russ because he always struck me as like a really cerebral, like good quarterback who like
yeah,
understood and like I knew he always had like a quirky personality that people didn't like you saw from the beginning
yeah,
in Seattle. But the like I'm trying to think of like other situations where I felt like a fall off was just so quick. I think the one I come to is Josh Freeman at Tampa Bay. Remember he had that
sure,
one year where he had like almost 30 touchdowns passing, like single digit interceptions. Like you
yeah.
looked at the raw numbers and you're like, holy cow, this guy's young. He's got a gun. He looks great. And then like within 2 years, he couldn't even get a
It's
job
like
anymore.
who is this guy?
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think something, sometimes you just lose it. Like, I don't know. That's what I think with Russ.
But I feel with like
And
Russell, it literally happened like out of nowhere. Like everyone was like,
he obviously was running on his reputation more than his output. Like, there was always that let Russ cook, that Pete Carroll's not trusting him. I
yeah,
mean, Pete Carroll upgraded going to Geno Smith and they made that playoffs. They actually did let Geno unload a little bit in a way they didn't trust Russ. And obviously, like I guess Pete Carroll's right. So I think we just were off his reputation from early in his career for a little bit and let him skate off some mediocre years.
some mediocre years. Dude, it's crazy, right? It's Russell Wilson was like, we're talking about
It's
MVP
crazy, yeah.
candidate for years.
I
Any
always got super high.
Dallas, Cleveland, just because it's Dallas, I don't like them that much. I do like the over on this game. I like it at 40.5. I have Cleveland taking this one. I do like total sacks by Myles Garrett at 0.8. I believe I had it for at minus 120. I mean, Myles Garrett is the reigning NFL defensive player of the year, and he is a beast. His sack record was a little down. I bet you by the end of this year that his average is going to be like 2 sacks a game. Like that, maybe not 2 sacks a game, but probably like
Yeah.
one something. That's going to be the line for his sacks. I like him a lot this year. I also have, and I'm just going to go through a different prop bets that I have. I have Carolina under at 17.5 points. I also have here rushing, receiving yards, James Conner over 16.5. Oh, did we talk about that one? Arizona Buffalo?
No, we
No.
haven't touched that or the Rams
Okay.
line.
So Arizona Buffalo, to me, I think Buffalo is the better team. I don't think they're as good as everyone has been saying. I think this is Buffalo's last year to make an impression. I think I talked about that a little bit on the preview. I don't think Buffalo. I think this is Josh Allen's last year. Like if he doesn't, not his last year in the NFL, but like this is the last year for that Buffalo experiment with Josh Allen and the players that he has to make a difference and to win and to really make a contention for a Super Bowl. I think there's an issue there with turnovers. I think there's an issue there with football IQ. I do like James Conner here, over 16.5 total rushing yards. I think he is a absolute beast. People forget about him because he's on Arizona, and there's just all this hype for Kyler Murray. But Conner is the central piece to that offensive system. I think he's going to get a lot of touches. I like him here at 68.5. I think the AFC East is going to be really good this year. I like where Buffalo's at. I like where the Dolphins are at, obviously. I think the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, that Jets defense is great. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch it. I think Aaron Rodgers could make that team better. I don't know if they're going to be Super Bowl contenders, but I do see them like as a lower playoff tier team. The only team that's kind of like, who knows what's going to happen are the Patriots. New coach, new system, kind of have no one really super exciting on their team, super sexy to watch. I do think the AFC East is going to be taken by our Dolphins. I don't think Buffalo has it this year, but I do like that bet for James Conner. Or Buffalo to what's Buffalo to win? What, it's like at 300?
Minus 300 on the money line, yes.
So if you want to take that Buffalo money line, that's a pretty high odd there, but it's almost guaranteed money. Arizona sucks, right?
Yeah, not a lot of movement in any of these lines. Spread open to 7. It's 6.5 now. Over/under's been sitting at 48 the whole time. So it's a pretty fair price line here, it looks like.
What's the other game that you said we didn't talk about?
Rams Lions.
Rams, Lions. I like the spread there. I like Detroit at 3.5. I think it's still at 3.5, I believe. Right, Stu?
4.5. 4.5.
So
Seen a
just
lot of
moved.
4.5s.
So it just moved a little bit. I think the Detroit Lions have high expectations this year. You know, we're talking about a team that no one used to talk about. This Lions were like the joke of the football of the NFL for a long time. I think what Dan Campbell did there was, how can I say this? He motivated a team. He took a team under his wing and he got these players to follow him, and man, do I freaking love that. Like when I watch the show,
Campbell.
like he hypes me up. Like I'm a Detroit Lions fan, and I don't know why. I don't know why I'm rooting for them as much as I am, but I want Dan Campbell to win the Super Bowl, and I want him to do it with the Lions. It's wild. Like I want him to do well. I think it's a lot of fun to watch, man. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's such a great wide receiver. I have faith in them. I like the spread here at 3.5. I don't like the Rams this year at all. I think I'm over the Sean McVay era of the NFL. I think he's young. He was young. He was a lot of fun when he first came in. The Rams were super fun and exciting, and it was LA. But like they've done it's been boring ever since. You know, if we're talking about an old Matthew Stafford who's going to be limping his way through it. I do like Puka. I think Puka is good, but he has a knee injury. And I'm here for Dan Campbell, dude. I like Dan Campbell at the 3.5. What's that? What's the odds on that?
On the spread, minus 110, 4.5. It's 4.5.
That's even money, dude. That's money. That's money in the bank. Watch. Detroit takes this one. Take the money line. Take the spread. Do it all.
I like the Lions there too.
Yes. Jump on my side, stupid Stu. Jump on it. Carlos,
I do. I agree. The LA show is over. It's just not. It's not hitting like it used to. And I like the style that the Lions play with. I like the personnel they run. Yeah, I like how they run their offense. Dan Campbell's really done a good job there. It's impressive.
Yeah, dude. Jared Goff, baby. Jared Goff and Amon-Ra. It's they're playing against their old teams, Like it's exciting. It's a fun week 1 matchup. I think it's the late game on Sunday night. And I'm here for it.
Yeah, it is. 8:20.
There it is.
Kickoff.
Chucky, you have any thoughts on that game?
No, I think you guys covered it.
I love it. I love when there's no thoughts. All right, guys. I think unless I'm missing something, I think we pretty much went through most of the games, if not all the games. If we didn't talk about the games, you probably should avoid betting on any of it. There's probably nothing that's sexy to bet on. We had a lot of props here. Make sure you guys like and follow. Make sure you guys check us out on Instagram and on Twitter and on TikTok. That's where we post all of our picks pretty much game day or the day before. We try to send them out early in the morning so you guys have time to make your bets. Also, the earlier you make your bets, the more likely the lines hadn't moved. If you kind of wait till right before a game, they could have changed, and then it's not something as sexy. Like, you don't want to take Green Bay, Philly if the line spread to move to 8.5. You want to avoid that like wildfire. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Stu, you're incredible. Chucky, you look like you owe me tax money. Actually, before you leave, Carlos, would you make a bet right now that if UM wins the national championship, that you're going to have to wear UM gear for a whole year every time you come on the pod?
I'm not wearing UM gear. UM's not winning the national title, but I'm not winning the. I'm not wearing the UM.
So make the bet.
No.
So make the bet.
This is going to end with that Knoll 3-2-1 way. I don't know. It's not going to be fun.
I've seen these title bets on the internet
bet.
way too much to know.
So make the bet.
Will you eat a piece of shit out of a red Solo cup with a spoon if you doesn't win the national title?
No, that's that. Come on.
Goddamn, what are we doing, bro? What are we doing? 3-2-1 Knoll. He's gonna eat some shit.
What are we doing here?
You saw that guy. You saw that bet, right?
Yeah, I know. Did they find him?
They're going to.
I know.
They're going to find him.
He's gonna eat shit.
One of those guys.
He will eat that captain
from Barstool.
He will eat that turd, dude.
Honestly, Florida State might not win again until he eats that until he eats that poop.
It's gonna be
They're over under 5.5 wins now.
Like, you can't make a promise like that. You can't make a promise like that and not come through.
And not follow through. Absolutely agree.
Wrong.
Absolutely agree. Guys, thank you so much for joining me this week. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you guys enjoy this. Make sure you guys follow, like, subscribe, comment. I actually do want to say something. All right, we're gonna keep doing this every week. We're gonna eliminate a team every time we pull it out. This week is the Titans again. 3 units on the Titans. Pray, baby, pray.
Also,
I got my Titans bet. Go ahead, Stu.
Pray.
Follow the Instagram and be aware for the geocache, man. We're doing a little geocache,
baby. We're just giving away money. Just stealing my money constantly. And we're going to be working with a few local businesses that are going to be throwing up some sponsorships on those geocaches. We're going to put them in different areas. Hopefully, you guys check it out. They're super simple to find. I get literally texts or DMs within like 10 minutes or 20 minutes every time I post it. I don't understand how fast you people react to these things. It blows my mind. But I'm excited. I do. That's why I do it. I tell people that I've given more money out to people I don't know than like the government does. It's phenomenal. I'm excited for it. So yeah, thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys all next week. Like, subscribe. We'll love it. Chucky Hoops. Charlie Pigskin. We're working on a little series for you guys on how we make these bets, how we get numbers out, where we look for stuff. It's kind of like our little betting 101 series that we did. Make sure you guys keep an eye out for that. We're super excited, and we love you guys. Have a good one. Enjoy football. Go Dolphins.
We told you we don't take this too seriously, didn't we? I'd say we've proven that. Yes, we love sports, and we love sports betting. But we like the funner side, not the stuffy side. We hope you had a blast like we did. If so, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on Instagram and TikTok at First Step Bets. See you next time on First Step.